There we go. Awesome. All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome to another Sips and Conversations Live. I'm your host, Nancy Ngwa, and we're back, y'all. We are back. We had to take, a little bit of June off, get a little bit of rest. I've had a lot of adjustments over the past, I would say, 6 weeks, and so much needed little break as I got settled in. But we back, and we are back with great information. Okay, we are joined by we just have such a treat. We're joined by Asia, who is a leadership, I can't even say coach, like specialist, everything. I'm going to let her introduce herself. But first, all right, let's go ahead and intro the drink of the day. It is my favorite, one of my favorite, y'all, the margarita from, you already know it, Costco. So cheers and join me in bringing on Asia.
Hey,
Hey. Hello,
how,
hello.
how are you?
I am well. How are you? Let me see
I
if
am
this
doing
lighting's
good.
really good.
Yeah, lighting's fabulous. You're just so
Okay.
gorgeous. Oh my God, you're like
Oh,
glowing and all the good things. So excited to have you. And let me just, before we get started, let's just go ahead and have you do a quick little intro. Let us know, who you are and what you might be sipping on today.
absolutely. So, hey, everyone. I'm Asia Bribiesca-Hedin, otherwise known as Bad Boss Breakthrough here on IG. And let's see, I am sipping on a Bigelow tea. It's like a tummy tea, and it's delicious.
Oh,
Peach and ginger and all sorts of good stuff. And here it
oh
is.
my God, and your fancy teacup. I need one
It's
of those.
my,
That's
my
so
teacup.
cute.
Isn't that fun though? Isn't that just like the
Yes.
most fun? Yeah, for sure.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. All right. Yeah. So cheers. All right. Yeah. I will stick with you.
Okay, very good. Salud.
Salud. Okay, Asia, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get right into the chat.
Yeah, definitely. So as I said, I'm Asia Bribiesca-Hedin. I'm the, when I'm not sitting here sipping with Nancy, I'm running my company, Bridgewell Professional Services. It's a leadership development and strategy execution company here in Southern California. And really what we do, and my whole reason for existing, is to partner with accomplished professionals to help them become, really authentically influential, sought after leaders without overworking, people pleasing, or selling their souls.
Ooh,
That's it.
okay.
That's what we do.
Look, look, it's gonna be a good one. Y'all better drop some hearts, okay? If you know anybody that's going to receive this message that needs to level up, that you want to encourage to level up in life, go ahead and invite them to this live, to this chat, so they can just get all that we're about to get from Asia today. So you said you are speaking to my soul right now. During our intro call, I kind of told you a little bit about why I started SIP. So SIP started just as a way for this is sisterhood, right? And it's transitioned to, guys love to come on here and join the conversation too. So we have some gentlemen that are in the chat right now as well, of course. But just wanted to really highlight yeah, just want to really highlight women, the everyday woman doing some phenomenal things, leading, inspiring other, women and other, and even gentlemen, right, in the world. So as we've transitioned, it's kind of really going into a direction where we really want to be able to educate people and have some really topic focused conversations. And so leadership is a huge one for me because professionally, I'm in supply chain. I've been a leader since I was 21 years old. All right, I'm 37, so it's a long time in the game. And didn't start off as a leader, but start like leadership type position. And over the years, I've learned what a leader is. And so, before we get into that piece of the conversation, I want to know a little bit about you. Who is Asia? Where are you from? Your name is absolutely gorgeous. So like where did that originate from? All the things.
All the things. Okay. So all the things, going way back when, is I was born in Santiago, Cuba, and I've been here in Southern California since I was 2. So I'm a
Wow.
U.S. citizen, been here since I was 2. And I live in a little town named La Crescenta, about 10 minutes away from Pasadena, California. So kind
Wow.
of the center of all this stuff going on. I was raised here in Southern California by a single mom who worked incredibly hard, even though she didn't speak the language fully, and kind of made ends meet. And, you know, and I think the real gift there is the kind of work ethic, what I saw her do, and also what I saw that she could do, but never put herself out for, right? Because she thought that somehow she wasn't either good enough or ready or didn't speak the language well enough. And yet this woman was a school teacher and a shop owner in Cuba.
Wow.
Right? You know, and here, you know, she was a magnificent seamstress. So she made dresses, you know, worked her butt off, selling at the swap meet and flea market on weekends. We actually, I don't remember this part. I see pictures, but when we first got to the U.S., we lived in government housing for just a minute here in Southern California, you know, grew up on welfare. So just literally a you know, if you ever look at someone and think, yeah, but they have this going for them, or they have this privilege, I just want to tell you, there was, you know, the privilege and what I had going for me was my mom who adored me and a family who loved me. And they weren't perfect, and that was okay, right? All the privilege I needed is that they loved me.
And that's huge. You said so many really great things, and you know, I can see how it's all led to where you're at today, being a product, or being you yourself. And you're an immigrant, right? One of my friends, she's always saying she's from Senegal, but she says she's imported. So like us immigrants,
I used to say that too. I'm like, I'm imported.
I'm imported too, because like, you know, we don't have a choice. Our parents bring us here obviously for a better life, and I think that sense of we have to make them proud is definitely, I'm there with you. It's a driver in life, and it just kind of creates the person that you are. So, you know, as you grew up, tell us a little bit about, you know, your early start professionally. What was your early on profession?
Yeah, so it's funny because when I was, you know, early on, probably when I was 19 or 20, I got one of my first full-time jobs. It happened to be with the city of Los Angeles, so the city government here in Los Angeles. I was very fortunate. I didn't know it at the time. You know how sometimes things are just by happenstance. Like I almost didn't take the test because I was out with at a party with friends and a cute boy the night before. When I said, oh, I can go home early because I have this test early tomorrow morning. He's like, oh, why do you want to do that? You probably don't even want to do that. Don't do what anybody else wants to do. Yeah, all this stuff, right? And
y'all stay away from boys, okay? If anybody's on here, 18 years old, 19-year-olds, don't listen to them. They will stray you the wrong way.
Literally. And so I showed up to this exam the next day, and I promise I'll get to it. But this is like a pivotal point because it's one of those things that like almost didn't happen.
Wow, yeah.
Right? I show up, I take this exam. It was an open public service exam to be a meter reader. You know, the folks who read your water and electric meter going house to house.
Okay.
Right. Now, just so you know, I was not like that outdoorsy type of, I get to be outside walking around type of, that was not what happened. So I just want to be really clear that was not that. Even to this day, I say I'm the worst meter reader to have ever passed probation, like period. Right? I have like no delusions like that. I know that's what's so. But anyway,
that's so funny.
That job, you know, I didn't even know at the time I started, but I was only 19, or I was just turning 20 at the time when I started, and they provided full tuition reimbursement as long as I was still working.
Yeah.
So I could go to any, you know, program, obviously, that because I had to be working out here in LA, it had to be here locally. As long as I could go out.
True. Okay.
So I finished my undergraduate at Pepperdine while I was working. They paid for it.
Hold on.
They paid for it. Yeah.
You went to my dream school.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. So I actually wanted to go to Pepperdine for law. I wanted to do pre-law, and Pepperdine had this great program, I think. All I knew was it was the beach, right? Santa Barbara is where it's at?
I think they're actually in Malibu.
In Malibu, okay, yes. And, but my parents wouldn't let me go because they were paying for my sister's out-of-state tuition. Yes. And so I say she crushed my dreams, but I'm so jealous of you. You went to my dream school.
Well, you know what you got to do? You got to come out and we got to like find an excuse to do like sipping and beaching out here, and we'll just hang out and go to the campus for a couple of things. I think
take my pictures, fulfill my dreams.
All seriousness, we got to do that. But anyway, I was fortunate enough to do that, and again, the thing that almost didn't happen. So I got that, that degree, and then I went on, and I'm like, well, I'm still working here, so I decided to get a master's degree. So I went to USC and got a master in public administration. Nice. And then while I was at USC getting my MPA, I heard about something called management consulting, and I was like, what is that? Yeah. Like, it sounded kind of fancy and kind of know-it-all-y.
Yeah.
Like supposedly it paid well.
Yeah.
So I did more research, and I found out that the shortest path to get into one of the big consulting firms was to get an MBA.
Yeah.
And so, so that's what I did. I went ahead and applied, found this great group. For you guys who are on that track, looking to get an MBA, I encourage you to check out the Consortium for Graduate Study in Management. They help really just fill some of the top schools with top talent.
Wow.
That is not that is fully diverse and not necessarily the norm. So it was just
you can just Google that, I'm assuming. Like,
you
Google
can look it up. Yeah, I think it's cgsm.org, I believe, but you can just Google the Consortium for Graduate Study in Management. Incredible organization, full scholarship. So for the first time in my life, I got to go to school full time without working. I'd never not worked before.
Wow.
So at the age of, I think it was 25 or 26 when I went to business school, I got to work without, to go to school without working. And I took advantage of everything. Like, I took every course that involved international travel. I got into student government. I actually ran and was, the student body president for the School of Business and Accounting. Like, it was amazing. Like, it was a dream experience. And then I went into management consulting. I joined Ernst & Young, and that started my career, really getting a chance to see inside of a bunch of different organizations, but also partner with leaders and senior executives, right?
Yeah.
To really help them bring their ideas to fruition, right? Because it's one thing, like, great ideas, unfortunately, even though it doesn't feel like it, are a dime a dozen. They really are a dime a dozen. But what I find is that the gold really lives in the execution.
Yes,
so whether you can take that idea and then turn it into what you need it to look like in order for it to deliver the benefit to the organization that the organization was after, or that the team needed, or the client needed, et cetera. So that was it. That's how it all started, right? Through hearing about this kind of know-it-all sounding career path, deciding to get an MBA, finding and getting to work for Ernst & Young.
Wow.
And I loved every moment. Yeah, I loved every moment of it. Until being on a plane every week wasn't as fancy as I had imagined.
Yeah, true.
Once I was having kids.
Yeah. Oh, those humans.
They have a way of reprioritizing things.
God,
They make life really simple for us.
Yeah, they do.
So that is it. Kind of like that started everything. And what I've liked most since then is just seeing that the actual chosen solution is a lot less important.
Yeah.
I know this is going to sound weird, but it's a lot less important than people think it is. And what's more important is whether the people involved in bringing that strategy or intention or transformation to fruition actually think they can make it happen.
Man, mindset, right?
Yes.
Like, your most valuable asset is literally, it lives in here, and it lives in here, that belief and the mindset. So perfect timing to just kind of dive into what you like. How did you transition into that becoming your business? Hopefully I'm saying that. Am I making sense at this point? Because I've been up for a long time. Okay.
Well, I always had like the little bit of a benefit, like, how there are some roles that give you an opportunity to probably have a lot more influence than your title would suggest.
Yes.
So I ended up having an opportunity to be in roles like that kind of throughout my career. Mm-hmm. So what that meant is that I got to see a lot of what worked and a lot of what didn't. Like, I got to see the folks who, for all intents and purposes, were kind of like in consulting. They were selling the work, but as I put it, they were leaving a wake of bodies in their path. Like, they weren't strategic or effective when it came to managing their teams and their resources. And you know, so you can see all those, the kind of mishaps or the fails.
Yes, 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 yes. And so it's interesting that you say that because a lot of times I always say this, people get into roles of significance not understanding the true impact, right? So more so it's, hey, I want this fancy schmancy title. I want to come in and pop my chest out and say, this is who I am, listen to me. But they don't really understand the ramifications behind how you can directly impact someone, like literally the trajectory of someone else's life. And so I love the fact that you kind of really said that.
Yeah, and it's funny, Nancy, that you say they're not funny. Like it's actually
Yeah,
somewhat tragic because I
yeah.
think that people come into this idea that they want to be a leader, right? They
Hmm.
think that means a title, and I'll come back to that in a second because that's not
Yeah,
what that
yeah.
means. Right? But being a leader is not about you,
Yep,
and that is the biggest myth, that being a
yep,
leader is about you.
yep,
You know, that you're about something. That's not what it is. Being
yep.
a leader is about whether you can elicit the best from yourself and others towards a common goal.
Yes,
It's not about you throwing around weight. It's not about
yes.
you throwing around title or dollars or budget or anything else like that. It never has been. It
Yeah,
is literally whether you are the intern or you are the board president. It is about, are you able to bring your best, first of all, like get out of
yep,
your own head and your own
yep,
nonsense.
yep.
And then from that place, also be able to encourage others to do the same and
Yeah,
actually see their brilliance, see their best, and pull them towards what we're trying to do together, right?
yeah, yeah,
You know, just
yeah.
propel us towards that thing. That's why it doesn't matter what the title is.
Yep.
So a leader is just someone who elicits the best from themselves and others towards a common goal.
Yes,
Never about a title, never
yes,
about the budget, never about the
yes.
span of control or number of direct reports or anything else
Yeah,
like that. And
yep.
it's funny because people will go through, I'm telling you, they will go through something to get themselves to this title that they think will then have them feel confident or legit or competent or worthy.
Yeah,
And now that I work so often with senior leaders and incredibly accomplished professionals, the title was never it. It was
yeah.
never about the title. And you know why we know that? Why I can
Why?
say that without any doubt?
How? Why?
Because they get the title and they
Yep.
still feel self-doubt, unworthy, incompetent, like imposters. Like, you know, I'm like, come on, it was never about the title. You just thought that once you had the title, you know, other people would either respect you or see you in a different light, and then you could see yourself in a different light.
Yep.
That was always an option,
Yep. Yep.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No. No. Like hands down. And what got you to a point where you were able to see that gap? Sorry, real quick. Kathleen said it's not the title, it's the person. Yeah. Hands down. Yeah.
Yes.
What got you to be able to see, like, what in your during your time at E&Y, what got you to that point to see, like, to see this entire gap, right? And
Yeah.
how did you feel like that became now your new mission in life?
And it actually started, it wasn't while I was at Ernst & Young. You know, and I left
Okay.
Ernst & Young and I, you know, because I had kids and I was in real estate for a while, but I ultimately went back to doing that type of internal consulting work. So,
Yeah.
you know, I worked with a couple of large entertainment companies, which I won't name, but you can probably fill in the gaps. And then,
You're better than me. I be name dropping all day. Like just a little,
and
a
it's
little
just
salt and pepper.
funny because I remember, and now even back to Ernst & Young, but I remember, you know, this one woman in particular, I think she was just a senior consultant at the time. She was like so powerful. Every place that she showed up, she asked the most amazing strategic questions because she wasn't asking to try to look good. She was asking to try to be of service. And her
Yeah.
name is Shannon. And Shannon, you probably won't know I'm talking about you, but I always thought you were amazing.
Yeah.
So in case she's
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
But
Hey, Shannon girl.
yeah, but that, I think she's one of those folks, you know, there's some folks that stand out in your head who like
Yeah.
solidified for me that it was never about the title or the level.
Yeah.
Because she could be in a room with anyone and show up fully ready to contribute from whatever she was and however she could, right? And
Yes.
that was just so meaningful, because really, unfortunately, in the world, at least what I saw of management consulting, a lot of it was about the title. A lot of that was about the level, about how much business you were closing, about the relationships you had. Now, I'm not saying that those things are still not meaningful or important, but rather they weren't what was going to define how Shannon was able to contribute.
Yeah. So what are the top characteristics of a leader? Obviously, you mentioned it, someone that is a servant.
Yeah. Well,
What
here's
else?
the thing. So here's
Yeah.
the challenge when people ask me what are like the top leadership competencies or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's that when we hear it as then a yardstick against which to measure ourselves and find ourselves coming up
Mm.
short. I'm really big on that.
Oh, that's
Everything
good.
starts with values. So
Yeah.
my framework that I use, I have this 3-pillar framework. It always starts with self-mastery. And that is around really understanding what's going on inside, what's driving your decisions, where your
Yeah.
confidence is coming from and where it's lacking.
Yeah.
Just what's going on in there, because when we don't know and don't handle what's going on in there, then we do silly things.
Yeah.
We make decisions based on ego. We're constantly reactive, and it's never about the bigger picture or the intention. It's always about, well, how am I going to look? What are they going to think about me? Am I going to be embarrassed? Because we have such a strange relationship with either what we believe to be other people's judgment or failure or embarrassment or any of those things.
Yep.
So we you kind of got to handle that first before you can decide who you want to be as a leader. Because otherwise, the alternative is that you end up remembering the last tweet from Adam Grant, or the last thing that you read in the Wall Street Journal about what it means to be a leader.
Yeah.
And then you decide, yeah, that's the kind of leader I'm going to be. But the reality is that's not how that works, right? The type of leader you're going to be comes from who you actually are. And then from there, you decide how you want your values, your contribution expressed in how you show up every day.
Yeah.
The problem is when we look around at someone else and think, oh, well, hey, that's how Carrie does it, so I'm going to do it like Carrie. No, that's how Carrie does it because that's who Carrie is. Yeah. So who are you? Yeah. How do you want to show up? How do you want to contribute? How do you work best? How do you want others to work with you? How do you want to collaborate? How do you want to elevate others? Answering all those questions. And then, from there you decide, okay, now I see it. Like, this is who I am as a leader.
Yeah. So do you think that under that mindset and that framework, right? Do you think that everyone has the capabilities to be a leader? Or do you think that there's leadership, your leadership level of leadership depends on, I don't know, maybe big picture, or maybe what your values are, or if what do you think defines like just being a leader, right? Like, could everyone be a leader, or is it certain people that can be leaders?
Yeah, I believe that everyone can be a leader, but here's the thing. Are you willing to not make it about you? Again, people think that being a leader is, making it about us. Well, how am I going to look? And am I going to, am I going to say this right? What are they going to think?
Right.
And while, of course, we always need to consider how we're showing up and the energy we're bringing into any space we're in, right? Period. No matter what. Yeah. Being a leader it's just so much more than that, right? It's about, can you see why that thing you're going for is important? Can you see why it's important to other people and help them see it? Can you see what it is that they bring beyond their mistakes and their mishaps and their fumbles? Because we're going to do that all the time. Fumbles, they're just part of the road, right? Part of playing ball.
Right.
Okay, right. But can we see beyond that? And can we decide that, when there is a fumble, when there's a mishap, instead of turning it into a thing where all of a sudden I'm sitting here kind of trying to justify myself and trying to pass the buck to somebody else, and just saying, okay, let's get strategic. Let's get solution oriented. Now what do we got to do? Got it. That didn't work. Got it. Now what?
Yep.
So being a leader is being able to continually adjust your GPS.
Yeah.
Even when there's a roadblock to, okay, now where do we go? Yeah. Right? just think about it. When you're driving in your car and something unexpected shows up, the car just doesn't say, oh, well, turn around and go home.
Yep. It
Right?
reroutes you. It says, let's go this
Routes.
way. It reroutes
Yes.
you. Yes.
And that is what happens, right? When we know what's important and what we're trying to accomplish. That's why
Yep.
I love talking about strategy so much. When we know what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
like we can reroute all the time.
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
we're not tripped up by it or completely stopped.
Right. So what would you say to the person that is saying, hey, look, at the end of the day, money motivates me. Okay. And I think a big part of deciding, are you a leader or how are you a leader? Are you an individual contributing leader or are you a people leader? Because I do kind of categorize it a little bit differently.
Sure.
And, you know, once you kind of know that based on, like you're saying, based on your values of who you are as a person and being honest with that, what happens when, hey, I need the money, but I'm not really a people leader, but man, this $150,000, $200,000 job, right? This role sounds so enticing. What do when you know that you wouldn't be able to do your team service by stepping into that role?
I guess I would be more curious in finding out why you believe that, why you're telling yourself that you wouldn't be able to, be of service. And I ask that because now, while that might be accurate, it might also be accurate to say to yourself, you know what, I'm still learning to be a leader, but I can figure this out.
Yep.
I'm still learning to be a leader, but I don't have to pretend I have it all figured out.
Yep.
I'm still learning to be a leader, but I can be of service, even if it's imperfect.
Yep.
So all of those are equally true, as well as I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
But if I don't know what I'm doing doesn't help you, why go for that one? When there are other 10 ways to look at it that are equally true and are going to drive a more strategic approach, a more intentional approach.
Yeah.
Right?
Intentionality. Okay. Great word. Because really what I'm pulling from that is, hey, look, it doesn't matter where you're at in the journey. If that opportunity has come to you, it's for a reason. You've literally done something to kind of deserve that or to earn that, right?
Yes.
But let's get strategic with it and take the steps that it's going to take in order to really be able to serve the team that you're wanting to really serve. So yeah, it all comes back to self-realization. So what would you say maybe for that leader that is struggling with leadership and has not gotten to the point of self-realization yet, but nothing's really going right for them?
Yeah, it all starts with values, right? It kind of goes back to that.
Goes back to that, yeah.
I believe that. Because, if things are not going according to plan, sometimes we're pretty clear why.
Yeah.
Right? But we're not necessarily willing to have the humility and the honesty with ourselves.
Ooh, the H word.
Yeah. To just be with, like, you know what? I have royally screwed this up this last couple of years.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Today I know better. Now what do I need to do?
Yeah.
How can I clean this up?
Yeah.
How can I start to create relationships? How can I actually be more team and outcome focused instead of me focused?
Yeah.
Right. So that there are all these questions that you now, if you're willing to be real with yourself, that you're now equipped to grapple with and to be like, okay, now what does this mean?
Yep.
How do I work best? How do they work best? Where do I go from here?
Yeah.
What conversations can we have? And the thing is, here's the thing sometimes with leaders who are really struggling, they think that they have to do it alone. And often because they think there's something to prove.
Yep.
What I have to say to you is that if you're still in that space of there's something to prove, you're not going to be able to show up as a leader. So why don't you figure out how you want to contribute first?
Yeah.
Right. And then bring others along to see what they think about what the best way to do that. Like, you don't have to do it alone. Right. When you think it's about you and it's about trying to prove something, here's the challenge. When you're trying to prove something and it's just for you, about you, that's one thing. Right. But when you're trying to prove something on the backs of other people, that's a slippery slope. Right. That's when people start to again, leave a wake of bodies in their path. You know, at all cost, I'm going to make this happen. Or at all cost, I'm not going to look bad. Or at all cost,
what are the ramifications to the team, right, that has to receive that kind of a leader, someone that's egotistical, someone that is not able to put the team first? Like, when you say leave the bodies behind, what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, unfortunately, most of us have probably had the experience of a less than ideal boss. Right?
Yeah.
Probably have the experience of a less than ideal boss, and it might have been for many reasons. It might not have been their ego. It might have been their competence or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a common setback among bad bosses is believing that admitting fallibility means something about them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That everybody's looking to them for the answer. Everybody's looking to them to get it right or to look good. And I guess I really wish they would be aware or recognize of that impact on the team, which is what that means is they're not allowing the team the opportunity to feel safe, to contribute, to feel safe making mistakes, to feel safe growing. And think about it for a second. When all of your time is spent on pretense, trying to guard yourself from like either criticism or whatever else you think is going on there, right? When all your time is spent in that space, there's not as much left over for innovation, for creativity, for collaboration, for inspiration, right? There's so much less cognitive ability left. When, you know, half of it or more is sucked up in pretense and wondering, what are they going to think about me? Am I going to say this right? How can I look good? How can I have the last word? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. You really nailed it on the head there in speaking about safety. And it's important to create a safe space for your team to feel like they can contribute, to feel like they can mess up. Like, mess ups are okay, you know. And one thing that I've seen, and I try to be careful with how I speak, because I'm currently in a workplace, and I would hate for someone to kind of, come across this and feel as though it's a negative, anything I say is just any kind of negative comment. But, one thing that I have noticed, just in general in the workspace, right, is the bodies that are kind of left behind from the bad boss there's a lack of confidence, right? The lack of being able to feel safe causes a lack of confidence. And that actually brings them to, when someone does see that they are valuable, they question that, right? They have that sense of, no, that can't be me. They can't even speak up. They can't even voice their opinions anymore, right? And it kind of leads to something that I've seen on your website, discussing imposter syndrome. And so I really want to just kind of hit on that just a little bit. What is imposter syndrome, and how do we really kind of get to that space from your professional experience, and from a coachability type perspective, and how do we kind of overcome imposter syndrome?
Yeah. So imposter syndrome simply is when you believe that even what you've already accomplished, what you have, you didn't actually earn, and you're not competent enough to have. But people just don't know it, and any moment the rug's going to be pulled out from under you. Like it's literally that experience that even what you've already earned, you didn't deserve. Right? That's really harsh. Now, we all have some sense of self-doubt, right? Self-doubt is just part of being human. It's not a problem.
Okay, good. That feels good. Okay, I'm normal.
You're normal. As long as you have a brain and it's turned on, self-doubt is going to be there, and that's okay.
Okay.
I think, what I like to bring people to is that self-doubt is always going to be there. It doesn't always need to be what's driving your decisions and how you show up. Right? But it can always be there.
Okay.
Right?
How can self-doubt drive decisions and how a person shows up?
Well, there is, and I know I could have drawn it on the board, but I might actually do that.
Yeah.
But here are a couple things. Here, let me see if I still, yeah, it's a dry erase. So this is the way that I look at what drives our decisions.
Okay.
So at the bottom, we often have fear and survival. Okay.
Yep.
And that's typically, I call that the concerned citizen. Oh, this is backwards. So I don't know.
No.
Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to mess
It's
with
fine.
that. So
Yeah,
you guys
it's
know
fine.
that says fear and survival.
Fear and
We'll
survival.
leave it
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
From that place, though, I want you to think about it. When is the last time you made a decision out of fear
Mm-hmm.
and you actually felt more safe after making the decision? Like,
I would say probably all the time. I mean, or
do
no,
you
is
feel
that
safer?
like if you make a decision out of fear, have you been there before? I can't, I don't know if I've made a decision out of fear because I do try to challenge myself. So I'm trying to think of like, when have I made one out of fear? So I don't know. But in my mind, if I make a decision out of fear, then it means that I've been there before. I'm not pushing myself. And so, yeah, I'm familiar with that place, right?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll need to delve into that.
Okay.
But I think of, and what
Yeah.
I found over and over is that when
Yeah.
people make decisions out of fear, they
Hmm.
actually do not feel more safe afterwards. In
Okay.
fact, they feel like they need to hide more, and it often makes them tune in more finely to everything else that might possibly go wrong.
Mm.
So the decision made out of fear, unfortunately, rarely has somebody feel more safe because that decision, the thinking that led to the decision is compromised.
Yeah.
We just don't know
Yeah.
it's compromised. We think
Yeah.
we're being safe.
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
going to apply for that job, right?
Yeah.
We think that's
Yeah.
keeping us safe.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
So,
say anything. We think
yeah.
that's keeping us safe.
Yeah. And then you end up hating yourself. Like you're like, why did I do that?
We all
Why
regret it. Yeah.
yeah, you regret it. You regret
Yeah.
it.
We all
Yeah.
But so however, whatever's going on when we're making decisions and driving whatever that is driving our thinking really
Yeah.
is what is the determinant of the quality of our thinking. And the quality of our thinking really, really matters. And I'll tell you, because when you think about it, let's say you walk into a room. So one of the
Mhm.
talks I sometimes do is creating confidence when you're the first or only. And I think that's a kind of important conversation to be having.
Hold
And yeah,
on. What does that
we're gonna
mean?
come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah, because here's the thing: you can walk into a room
Hmm.
and think they don't, and it may all be true. They don't want me here.
Yeah.
They can't wait to see me fail.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, they don't respect me, and
Yeah.
maybe it's all true.
Yeah.
But I want now, if you pause for a second, what kind of action might come from they don't want me here, or they
If I
don't like?
feel like someone doesn't want me here, I'm gonna kind of go into my shell. I'm not gonna be outspoken, right? I'm really not gonna shine. I'm not gonna give you what my thought processes are. Even if I think I have a good idea, but you don't really want me here, so I'm not gonna share anything.
Yes, exactly. There's a
Yeah.
certain set of decisions that fall
Yeah.
out of it. And
Yeah.
now if you think, let's say all those things were still true, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want you there. Maybe you're
Yeah.
surrounded by a-holes. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
on the other side is you're also curious about, I wonder how we can get through that last roadblock on this project or initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder how we can push this past the finish line faster.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you can get out of there.
So, think about that,
Okay.
right? So when you walk in, again, same environment, but you're now approaching it from a place of curiosity versus
Gotcha.
a place of fear. What do they
Gotcha.
think about me, or I need to stay safe?
Gotcha.
The outcomes are different because all of a sudden you're asking yourself good questions. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, maybe this time we can try to staff it differently. Maybe this
Yeah.
time we can do that.
Yeah.
So again, we got strategic about it,
Yeah.
about what's driving our decisions versus reacting to whatever we think other people are thinking, or whatever we think other people are saying, or whatever other people actually are saying. But again, we get to decide in that moment. Do you want your decisions driven
Yeah.
by the haters?
Yeah.
Or do you want your decisions driven by your intentions and what you're trying to make happen, the impact you want to have, or even just the project you want to add to your LinkedIn? Like, you want to finish the
Yeah.
project so you can
Yeah.
add it to your
So,
LinkedIn.
yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've got a family member that's currently going through that right now. Like, I just want to add this project to my LinkedIn
That's it.
so I can kind of move on. So, um, the person that is looking to move on and get to that next level in life, right? Like, once we can kind of get out of that fear mindset, then what is the next step for them to really, how can they start walking into that leadership role
Yeah.
that they want?
So my recommendation, again, that next step after fear,
Mm-hmm.
is actually when you're kind of focusing on ego. So you're no longer trying to hide
Mm.
like that,
Okay.
but rather your focus is on, well, how can I look good? How can I accomplish this, that, or the other? How can I get
Yeah.
the validation?
Yeah.
And while it's not ideal, it is definitely a step up from fear because you're
Yeah.
taking into account more of what's actually happening in the environment. The challenge is that it's a pretty reactive place to be because how you show up is always going to be dependent on how other people are behaving. Right? And do we really want how
Yes.
we show up dependent on how other people are behaving, how they're
Yes.
responding to us, if they're being nice, if they're being
Yeah.
welcoming, you know?
Yeah. I
Right.
have so something just happened to me today, in the office. I work I'm a supply chain manager by profession, right? And so I'm a Black woman in supply chain.
Supply chain.
Okay. I'm surrounded by white males. I mean, that's just really who usually dominates that industry, or just males in general, right? And so
Yeah.
a lot of times I find myself as the only woman in the room, and I'm having to, before I used to kind of elevate my voice or find my voice within the room, right? Like, how can I speak up? Do I speak louder? This, that, and the third. Now, when I find, because of, I've been able to kind of make it up a little bit when I find myself in that, hey, guys are starting to quiet my voice down. I just, my plan is I have more of a smaller focused groups so that I can't be overtaken by the male dominance, right? So that's just kind of really how I've been able to maneuver some of it. I just control the environment, and so we're going through this activity to try to improve, or really to create a process for another young Black female who is just now entering into her career in supply chain. So I had these guys in there because I needed to bring them in for a very targeted conversation. So they came in, and it was and what I needed to have happen happened. The conversation that I needed them to lead, to take part of, was a wrap. And I realized that she was starting to quiet down again. I needed to kind of refocus and get the guys out of there. And so I just
Yeah.
was like, okay, bye y'all, because she needed to get back to her place of being safe, right? And I needed the egos to kind of just go away. Um, so yeah, so
Yeah.
what you're saying, is just like, hey, how do you take your, the second part is getting that ego part kind of out of it, but
Yeah. And, frankly, that's probably the closest thing we have to a default,
yeah,
right? Because let's face it, there's not anything wrong with being driven by the desire for accomplishment,
yeah,
right? Where it becomes a slippery slope is when you don't accomplish the thing or you don't
yes,
get the validation or the prize or the sticker that you were
yes,
looking for.
right,
Your best thinking and your leadership effectiveness is hijacked.
yeah, yeah,
That's when it becomes a problem.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so that next level up, that top level, is when you're really driven by a mission, a purpose, an outcome, an intention, something that's not about you and not about seeking someone else's validation, but rather delivering on that outcome.
yeah,
Right. So yeah, when we get to be outcome focused, like, in other words, even the meeting, right, with
mm-hmm,
the guys kind of
yeah,
overthinking and over speaking and all that
yeah,
stuff. When the intention is to deliver on whatever it is, right? Creating this new process,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of becomes paramount. And how they show up and whether or not they're being helpful or whether or not they're, allowing others to contribute becomes secondary.
Yeah.
You will address
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
you almost address it not from a place of feeling attacked or feeling stopped, but you address it from a place of, okay, we need to get back on track.
Yes.
This is where we're trying to go.
Yes.
Kind of like what you just described, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we need to get back on track.
Yeah.
And this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't become about the egos. It becomes about the outcome.
Yes. Yes. It's all about the outcome. It's
Yeah.
all about the outcome. And then for me, it's also about the person, right? As the leader, it's all about the person that we're there to serve. And in
Yeah.
that moment, when I feel that person that we're there to serve is not being served, okay, how do I allow for the safe space for especially, a young female, you feel there's the imposter syndrome. We're sitting in a boardroom, right? Like, I'm in here, someone has driven miles and miles to teach me this. And so do I belong in this room? That whole, all those wheels are turning. And so it's, as a leader, I kind of went into mama bear mode, right? Like, I've got to provide that safe space once again, and let's get back on focus and also kind of give back that safe space.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, and that's the thing, as a leader, there might be many outcomes you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
So one of them might be, safeguarding the team member, making sure that they feel involved, engaged, safe, etc. It's getting the details you need for this new process.
Yeah.
It's eventually introducing, a couple of more senior members to this new staff member, right? So there might be a few different outcomes wound up in there.
Yeah.
But just think about how much more intentional, right, we get to be when we have that in mind versus when we feel like completely hijacked because, someone acted like a jerk or someone wasn't, or even sometimes just someone not knowing was simply not thoughtful. They just showed up as themselves and just kind of did the thing they do. They don't realize the impact they have.
Yeah.
Right. And as opposed to letting it then become about them and how wrong they were, you kind of kept your wits about you and were like, okay, what's most important here? And that is like my favorite question to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. When people ask me, well, what are you doing this? I'm like, I always go back to what's most important here.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you definitely have to just like, what's the goal? What's the outcome? What's the desired outcome? That way, and then keep everything on track so you can kind of hold people accountable. So, I would like you to kind of walk us through your process, right? If I were to come to you today and I'm like, you know what, Asia, I'm struggling as a leader. And, what is the process of kind of onboarding, and what does that process look like? And do you work with individuals primarily, or do you usually work with corporations?
I work with both. I work with individuals. Okay. I work with organizations, through sponsoring or hiring companies. And I also do group programs that individuals can join or that companies can send their people to.
Yeah.
But really my process, as I call it, my leadership framework, it's really 3 pillars. And I call it the intentional leadership framework, right? Not very creative, but.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. It's great. So, intentional leadership framework.
That's it. Yeah. Everything starts with values. So again, it's kind of 3 pillars if you want to think of it that way. The first pillar is that self-mastery, because that's actually where you get to see what's happening with your self-perception and self-awareness, understand what's driving your decisions, and whether that's what you want driving your decisions, right?
Yep.
What your leadership default is,
to
gain some visibility and awareness into that. Once you have some really solid perspective, and that's also where we deal with confidence. So I want to touch on that for a moment, because, for example, my group program always starts with a leadership confidence intensive weekend, right? Because that is, you get to lift off the blinders, erase the blind spots, or the blind spots, and actually make some really quick forward movement in that space. I'm sorry, you were going to ask something about that, so.
Well, sorry, you had said, my mind is like, I lose focus because then I get right back drawn in. But I had a moment. It's gone. I had a momentary
question and it's gone because then I got right back into the conversation.
Okay.
I'm so terrible about that.
No. So that is that self-mastery. And again, I think what's most important there is being able to really separate our confidence from being dependent on how other people are showing up and whether they're behaving the way we want them to behave.
Yeah.
That's often what's hijacking our leadership effectiveness. And from there, we go on to what I refer to as role mastery. And this is something that I do that's kind of unique in my program. Yeah. And role mastery, what it does, whether it's for your current role or your next role, it helps you get really crystal clear on what actually matters and moves the needle for your role, for you to excel in your role or in your next role, whatever the case is. But the reason I wanted to call this out specifically, and it has its own pillar, is because in the absence of that kind of clarity, what we do is end up just doing more of everything. We're like, okay, I'm not seeing what I want to see. I'm not getting the results or the recognition I want. So let me just do all the things.
Yes,
all the things. Stop doing all the things.
The things.
Yeah.
Real fast for the leader that, because I'm going through this, and I have a way that I do it, but I really want you to just really quickly just speak on it for the people leaders that have people on their teams. You're walking into a team and you have teammates that have not mastered the role, but they're super talented, right? And they're just doing everything. They're not focused. They haven't fully mastered anything. They're a jack of all trades, but a master of none. What is the number one thing you would say to those people leaders to get that person kind of doing what they need actually, or to master their role, I guess?
Yeah. So one of the things we do in that role mastery section is I alluded earlier to leading indicators, because I'm big on metrics, but not so much from a, how do I put this? Leading indicators are simply it's the action that actually drives the outcome, right? So for example, if I want to lose 10 pounds, right? Getting the scale will tell me a number.
Yeah.
That action does not drive the outcome of whatever the number is. So what things drive the outcome? Like how many meals a day do I log? How many steps do I take per day? How many glasses of water do I drink? So we'll say those are 3 leading indicators for the outcome of lose 10 pounds. Yeah. Right? So
all things I need to do more of, by the way.
Well, it's the things, they are the things that actually move the needle on the outcome we want, right? Yeah. So what I would ask the leader is, what is the outcome you want? Because that's the first thing you need to know. So what is that person here for?
Yes.
And what are the activities that actually move the needle to get to that outcome that they're here for? Yes. So it's actually much more straightforward than people think it is.
Yes.
But we don't always break it down in that way. Like if you think about it, that's pretty straightforward.
Yes.
What are they here for?
Yep.
Right? Yep. And then what are the things that actually count towards what they're here for? You may find of the 12 things they're responsible for, only 3 of them are actually leading indicators. Yep. Only 1 of them is actually a leading indicator. And the mistake people make is they think that the outcome is the indicator. Yep. No. Kind of like if I'm a fundraiser, how many dollars I raised is not the leading indicator.
Yep.
How many dollars I raised is just the outcome or the result. But what I know is that if I want to raise $10,000 or $10 million, then what are the things that are the leading indicators? I'm going to make this many calls a week or a day. I'm going to go to this many networking events a month. Yeah. I'm going to call on this many old, former donors. Yeah. I'm going to submit this many grant applications. You get me? Yep. Those are the things that drive getting to your fundraising goal.
Yep. Yeah.
So counting the dollars fundraised doesn't do anything.
Yep.
In that sense.
Yep.
What you want are the things that are actually going to drive the dollars raised.
Yep.
So that we can focus on what we actually control. And as a leader, everyone needs to understand how they contribute to the bigger picture, and leading indicators, right, being strategic about it are what helps people understand how they contribute to the bigger picture. Because all of a sudden, what they do matters. And it's crystal clear. that what they do matters. Like, oh, I know that if I submit 2 grant applications this month, it could make this kind of difference. Like, I don't know what it is, but I also know that if I can get more efficient and submit 4, that has a different type of income. Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So what you've really said, you know, in the management space is streamline the focus, right? Focus on how do you streamline that? Like, what is the role? Define the role, roles, responsibilities, expectations, streamline that focus, and then establish good KPIs that allow that person to really have that target. What am I after? How am I being measured? How do I measure myself? And you know, and I think allow the person to help in that process of streamlining their role, establishing their KPIs, really allows for ownership, right?
Yes. And it requires a conversation because people don't naturally think in that way. They think of, oh, well, this is the goal I'm trying to get. No, the goal is get a new job. But the leading indicator is, again, how many networking events did I go to? How many informational interview requests did I make this week? How many new introduction requests did I make on LinkedIn? How many, you know what I'm saying? How many applications did I submit? How many resume customizations did I create? So all the things that actually make the difference and that you control. Because you don't control if somebody says yes or no. But you do control those leading indicators. And that's why you're golden.
Oh my goodness. Can I just carry you around ever with me? I want you to finish because you make me feel not crazy, right? Like it's and you know what, being that kind of leader, I will say it's very draining, it's exhausting, it's mentally tasking. But at the end of the day, when you can allow your people to really know what their purpose is there, right? And allow them to feel valued, the outcomes and the level of work that you will get from them will blow their minds, first of all, and they'll want it. They will ask for it. People want to feel important. They want to feel significant. They want to do a good job. So, but as a leader, you've got to allow them to be focused, give them the tools that they need, clear the trees, right? Give them their tools, and they're going to really perform for you.
All that anyone wants is to feel like what they're doing matters.
In every area of life, right?
Everywhere.
Whether you're a mom, a wife, professionally, a child, right? Just kind of go back to the basics. Like, if you bake a cake and you put all the stuff in there and you put it in the oven and you're like, oh, this thing smells good, and you pull it out of the oven and it's flat. Like, are you going to feel accomplished?
Right. You likely will not.
Right.
You likely will not. We don't want people feeling flat. We want people to feel like their work matters. Not like their work deflated partway through the process.
Right. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love that you said that. Like, I literally just want to like take this and just share it with my team and be like, yo, I'm not crazy. Okay. I'm not. I swear there's other people that think this way.
Yes. Get that on board. Get everybody thinking strategically. And I was going to say, I was going to take the replays down tomorrow, but I think I'm going to leave them up another week. So anyone listening can go to strategicleadershipbootcamp.com.
Please do.
And get access to the 5-day boot camp I just did. I did a free 5-day Become a Strategic Leader boot camp. So take it to your team. You guys watching, take it to your teams, watch it. Change how you think. You're going to change your outcomes.
So we're going to leave the third pillar. Do you want to say it or do you want to? No, let's go ahead and say it, because when this replays potentially, it may not.
Yeah, the third pillar, actually super straightforward. It is your leadership goal. So that's leadership goal mastery. And what that means is that at that point, that's where you distinguish who you want to be as a leader, you know, what other people can depend on you for,
Yeah.
what you are and are not willing to, unfortunately, tolerate and
Yep.
look for in a team.
Yep.
Right? Because we got to be honest. We can't say we're a nurturing leader and then want to strangle somebody when they ask us a question. We can't.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with being like, I'm the kind of person who wants people to be industrious. There's nothing wrong
Yes.
with that, but
Yes.
you got to be honest and own it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's also where you create a strategic plan for your career and a failure plan. Because we gotta break that our wonky relationship with failure. We are so funny about failure. We
Failure.
About
failure. It. You can't become the best version of yourself if you do not first fall at least once.
Yes, it takes failing to learn. Otherwise, you just did something. You didn't learn something.
Yeah, he didn't learn anything. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm kind of running over a little bit on your time.
I know we're over.
I try to keep my promise, but this is just so good. It's just like it's my passion, my baby. I'm so big about just speaking on leadership and what does leadership mean, right? And how do we become the best version of ourselves as leaders in every area of our lives? Definitely professionally, I think it's an area that people don't really take the time to fully develop. So I love what you're doing. I love your mission. I love your purpose. And before we leave today, you have to leave us with, I asked everyone this question.
Yeah.
If you're not to give any piece of advice, except for one, what would that one piece of advice be in life?
If you were not allowed to give any piece but one.
Any other, just one piece of advice, what is that going to be?
You get to decide what's driving your thinking and your decisions. So you can either let the haters drive your decisions, or you can let your goals, your intentions, and your higher purpose, and the just amazing, human being and gift from God you are, be deciding how you show up.
Yes.
You decide.
Yes, you decide. You got the power, you decide. I love it. We cannot, we just couldn't even end this any better way. So let's real quick tell everybody where to find you on social, shout out your website, all that good jazz, and anything that you have coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, because I'm going to take it down soon, go to strategicleadershipbootcamp.com. You can watch the whole replay. You can watch them on double speed. It's only 30 minutes a day, so super easy. It was a free 5-day boot camp. And find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm super active on LinkedIn. I'm always there. I do a free event every month on LinkedIn. A free live event.
I'm following y'all. Okay, so I'll be at the next one.
Yes. Be at that with my leadership series.
Yes.
And, just reach out and connect. I'm always up to talk all things leadership and in particularly empowerment and in particular for women. Yes.
Love it. Thank you so much for just sharing your light, sharing your knowledge, sharing just your just like positive energy and reinforcement and thought process with us today. Y'all look out for this when we go live on YouTube. Okay, share this with every single person. Save it, replay it. We'll make the announcement when we're going to be live. But thank you so much. I appreciate everybody for joining in, and we will sit with you next time.
Bye.
Cheers.
Salud.
Salud. Bye.
Bye.